Welcome everyone to the legendary Darlington Raceway. And boy oh boy is this ever going to be a fun night. We are now at the halfway point of the season, in the second half of the regular season more accurately. And this is going to be one heck of an event. 136 laps here this afternoon at Darlington. The Full Sim Racing Series Season 8 is about to be underway here momentarily, and we're about to give you your starting grid even more momentarily. In fact, it might be time to give you your starting grid right this second, as qualifying is just about to end here. So famous that this track doesn't even necessarily need to have the logo shown here at Darlington. The high banks, if you can even call it that, the high line especially, is something that is so unique. The egg-shaped oval essentially, as well, as again something so unique that this track is going to be throwing a wrench into pretty much everything. So your starting grid will be as follows here at Darlington. It's going to be Michael Thorpe Jr., who qualifies on the pole by just 1/10 of a second faster than the car number 1, Cameron Sarton. A great start already by the 34 by qualifying on pole, but that 1/10 of a second will definitely matter here once we get into the middle portion of the race. Second row holds both Brian McCann and Travis Start, both drivers no strangers to each other, especially after last week at Iowa, where Travis Start had once again challenged Brian McCann for the lead ever so slightly. Same thing happened in Michigan. Could we see the same again this week? We shall find out momentarily. Corey Mower starts off in the 5th place position, rounding out the top 5. Chris Travis Ezra in the 15, as per usual, sees himself around the top 5. He starts in the 6th place position. Starting in 7th is going to be the 28 of Tony Brent. We've usually seen him in the top 10, if not the top 5. Been consistent this season so far. I don't think that he'll have any problems being consistent this week either. Hunter Karsten starts off on the outside lane in that number 13 machine. And then rounding out the top 10 is both Philip Chavez in the 101 machine and Zachary Lovelace in the number 10. Starting off in 11th place is going to be Jonathan Burt. He'll soon be joined by the 3 of Ryan Lynch. David McConnell starts off in the 13th place position, with William Duff soon to join him on the outside lane. There he is on the throttle machine. And then Doug Pierce as well as Daniel McConnell starting in the 15th and 16th place positions. Larry Griffin scheduled to start 17th, but has chosen not to grid or wasn't able to make the grid for whatever reason. Regardless, he will start off in the 17th place position. They'll round out the field here for this week. And it looks like the number 34 of Thorpe has actually changed a little bit to of course, I'd say appropriately enough, a more retro livery for this week. And you know what? That works. I don't blame him. I'll give you your point standings and the schedule so far, and in fact, we'll give you the schedule so far as of right now. Tonight, we are at Darlington, just a few races in. The previous race winners, well, there's only 2 of them, as Zachary Hall and Ken Campbell had led. So tonight, we're about to see a 3rd driver win, potentially here at Darlington. Of course, it is going to be guaranteed here. But who will survive the dreaded lady in black? The green flag flies here at Darlington. As they come off turn 4 is Michael Thorpe Jr. leading the field through the high banks, being followed by Cameron Sarton, who in turn is being closely followed by Brian McCann as they go down the back straightaway into the tighter turns of turns 3 and 4. Corey Mower lurking in case anything does happen between those two. Travis Start is sitting in 5th. Tony Brent did move his way up to 6th place. And if you want to follow along, go ahead and click on the link in the chat. That is the live timing positions, and not only does it give you a little bit more feedback as to what's happening across the racetrack, but it also gives everyone a chance, especially over at ATVO, to see what things are potentially maybe exploding in the background in terms of code. So go ahead and give that a try, see how things fare for you. Go ahead and give some feedback on that live timing page, because I will definitely be utilizing that feedback and handing that over to the crew at ATVO, who of course are the ones that help provide the technology behind these broadcast graphics, essentially. Someone who had a little bit of a fumble off turn 4 was, or off turn 2 was Corey Mower, potentially. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a literal run-in with the outside wall on corner exit. So while we have a chance, we're going to go ahead and show you that corner exit off turn 2. Now this might be a lap behind. Unfortunately it is. We get to see the run up here either way. Right on board with Travis Start for this replay. Keeping an eye on the 84. Did he scrape off turn 4? He did not, but off turn 2 is definitely slow. He did not catch that in real time. In fact, Dart had gotten alongside, and that's where that contact was. Simple contact, but contact nonetheless with that wall jutting out at the very end of that corner exit. It's quite treacherous there. There's no doubt a challenge. Speaking of a challenge, someone who is challenging for position is Brian McCann, challenging for the second place position, at least as best he can in terms of sitting directly behind Cameron Stark and just filling the mirrors, reminding him that he is indeed still there. Watching them all stay single file as they follow each other through. It's quite fascinating here, especially at a track like Darlington, where, again, running near the outside wall is usually feared, I guess, in some cases, or not really highly recommended in some other cases. In the meantime, as we cross to 10 laps in, let's remind you of the stage that is in 41 laps. So the stage ends at lap 50. So relatively speaking, quite early on, I wouldn't be surprised if it was possible that some of these drivers do decide to try and stretch the field a little bit. Making their way off turn 4 with 40 laps until the completion of the stage. Thorpe continues to lead. Meanwhile, the rest of the field a little bit spread out. Travis Start on his lonesome. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad thing. Same goes for Tony Brent, who is right up against the outside wall. Same goes for, I think, Phil Chavez, who I heard some scraping out of that. There was the 15 of Esri, who was about to make a pass here to the inside lane for P6. And just like that, very quickly, in fact, takes the lane away from Chavez, it seems like, there on corner entry. So go ahead and move that number 15 up to P6. A couple laps we might ride on board to see what some of these drivers are doing in terms of throttle control and dare I say technique. I know technique. I'm not sure if technique is really the correct word in a sense, but pretty much what they are doing in terms of, well, the aforementioned throttle control. David McConnell has gotten passed by William Duff on the outside of turns 1 and 2. Tony Brent all on his lonesome in 5th place. Cameron Sargent still charging down. Ryan Lynch has moved himself up to the 11th place position. I was too busy paying attention to his car number. The number 3 car has moved up to 11th place. The 6th car has dropped down now to 12th. Let's make their way back into turns 1 and 2. It looks like Corey has set his sights on Philip. Down the back straightaway they go. And we see the damage there on the right-hand side, on the right-hand portion of the hood, that cowl flap where that darker space is opened up. He has definitely nailed the wall at least more than once, but if that was off from the contact of off turn 2, then that is a little bit terrifying, if I do say so myself, considering that these walls will attack you. They are relentless, I believe is the word here. A little bit of a bobble from Chavez off turn 2, holds on to it. And we see this group from 5th to about 8th. In fact, 5th from pretty much all the way to the back of the field with how close everybody is here. Camera's shaking from all the other drivers that are running around the outside lane. We see Philip Chavez now moving down to the inside of Tony Brent on corner entry. A little bit below the dotted white line. Does not really help his corner entry. And not necessarily the most useful, but he does hang on to the car. There's a little drag race down to turns 3 and 4. Look at Corey Mower, who's joined this pack, and he's definitely not afraid to get right up against the back bumper of either driver. Chavez is forced to back out, so is Corey, as the preferred lane that he was about to take off corner exit had been taken away. Let's check back in with your lead group at the moment. They are still 1, 2, and 3. Thorpe, Sarton, and McCann. They have all not left each other. In fact, a little bit of a slide for McCann off turn 2. Here comes Sarton to the inside. And Cameron Sarton has... Oh, hold on a second. Tony Brent has really fallen back. We'll catch up with him when we are able to. Battles all over the racetrack here, and that's why you should go ahead and click the link on the pinned in the pinned YouTube comment section. Only available during live chat in case someone is watching this on a delay. They're probably wondering, well, what's happening? I'll head to timing.appgeneering.com. It's like engineering, except instead of engineer, it's appgeneer. Again, luckily the guys over at ATVO providing some new resources for us to bring to you so you can follow your favorite driver in case we do miss something. Such as the 13 of Lovelace, the 13 of Sarton. Somehow I'm still confusing Cameron Sarton and Hunter Karsten. It has been 8 weeks. You would think I would have this by now, but apparently not. The 33 of Lovelace getting past, I believe that'd be past tense. Or pretense, the 13 of Hunter Karsten. Corey Moore and Philip Chavez side by side in turns 3 and 4. And it ends up with Mower out in front after all is said and done. The three are still in line. And not much has changed aside from the attempted pass that Cameron Sarton had tried to do into turn 3. Will he try again? Barely peeks out, decides against it. Stage ends in 29 laps now at this point. And Sarton is not waiting any longer. He'll move to the inside lane of Michael Thorpe. In fact, now would have been a good time, or any time would have been a good time to show the live points. And we'll do that once these two stop being side by side, depending on what Sarton's car decides it wants to do. Just clipping the inside of the apron. If you could even call it the apron necessarily. This is what the points look like as things currently stand. For some reason, Cameron Sarton's position is not being shown in real time, but regardless, Thorpe will move to hypothetically 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in terms of real-time points. Not sure why this has not updated to 4,000, but regardless. In fact, I think I know exactly why Brian McCann's has not updated to 1,000. It's because, for some reason, Tony Brent is incorrectly marked as the as a driver that's locked in with 2,000 points. That will need to be changed momentarily, but regardless, Michael Thorpe will advance. Regardless, I believe that should be 276 points for Tony Brent, rather than 2,000 points, but we'll get that corrected momentarily. It's all kicking off here in terms of everything being frazzled. My voice, apparently. Train of thought. Tony Brent probably hitting the wall of turn 2. Darlington does a lot to you. Apparently, even if you're in the booth. Tony Brent's not done just yet. However, Ryan Lynch has other ideas. Looks to the inside of Karsten. Couldn't make anything happen there on corner entry. This is definitely, arguably, I would say, the better area to try and make a pass in because it's not as narrow. You don't have to slow down as much compared to turns 3 and 4. Moving back up to second place here. All 3 of these drivers have moved away from the rest of the field. 25 laps complete, 25 laps to go until the completion of the stage. And in case you're new here, there are no stage cautions, but stage points are awarded to the top 10. From 10 points to first place, down to 1 point for 10th place. And that's what these two are fighting for, is that one extra point. You may think, well, it's only 1 point. That matters, believe it or not. And Tony Brent is struggling here. Something I never thought I would say, especially from Tony Brent. He's been pretty consistent for the most part, but Darlington has definitely called him out. Especially, no doubt, the exit of turn 2. I think he has damage on the right side of his car. If you look at the right front, in fact, we might right on board here, but that little white speck there above the hood, yeah, it's definitely a paint scratch. He might have steering damage. Of course, because it's the right side of the car, we cannot really see anything, but best we can do is give an on-board, and everything seems fine. I do see a little bit of a scratch there. We'll see how things fare as we are unfortunately forced to jump through the entire field, and both drivers, I think Sargent and McCann, had a ball of turn 2. I think the only driver that was stable was the 34 of Thorpe. This different track definitely having Thorpe, or helping Thorpe come into his own. How long can he stay in the lead is the question. If I remember correctly, no bonus points for leading the most laps necessarily, and in fact, I just also realized something else. We don't have our live timing active. Whoops. That is something that is quite important. So let's just get that adjusted as, well, I think Cameron Sargent's about to adjust the running order here momentarily, as he wants to get out in front. Side-by-side drag race, both nearly making contact, and Sargent just gets the lap led that time by. Can he keep the lead is the question. Slides up the racetrack, and that causes Thorpe to back out. Makes contact almost into the outside wall. Here comes Brian McCann to the inside of the 34, and Thorpe drives the car off the corner so hard that he'll slide. It's side by side between himself and the 8. Thorpe tries the crossover and might be successful here. To the inside he goes, trying to get to second, trying to get himself back into the lead to chase down Cameron Sargent, but now he's forced to settle for third place. Welcome to Darlington. In fact, we might temporarily lose our graphics here momentarily, but you still won't miss any of the action. We will still bring you the action. It'll just be out for a lap or two. Regardless of this race, as we cross to 19 laps to go before the end of the stage. This has been doing nothing but bringing action and a surprisingly spread out field, if you ask me. I was not expecting the field to be too spread out to this extent, but It just shows that some drivers are, of course, able to master this track more than others, and that is something that this track rewards, is car control, and it's more racing the track rather than the cars. For 10th place, this is William Duff going by Hunter Karsten. Karsten will try and dip down and switch back to the inside, but is not able to do so because William Duff has closed that lane off successfully. So the 17 is now into the top 10. Let's see if we can get the on the graphics back for you, so you can see where everybody is, but also the live timing, because that is also quite important. All right, now that should be active. Looks like that has properly updated. So Cameron Sarton leads. That now leaves Michael Thorpe to chase down Brian McCann. Both Sarton and McCann, as well as Lovelace, are all effectively locked in due to the wins that they have had so far this season. Thorpe's performance so far this race, he is no doubt trying to add his name to the list. I'll try and move his name up the pylon by one order, but no dice there on corner entry, turn 3. We'll see if we can get the graphics back for you. Regardless, I will keep you updated as lap now 37 at the start-finish line of 136. At this point, I'd be very surprised if a few drivers do decide to go to pit road. At this point, I wonder if an undercut would potentially work for some drivers, but I'll have to wait and see how things fare. Travis Start being chased down by Chris Essery. In fact, Dart is being chased down so rapidly by Chris Essery that the difference of the lap time last time by was about 0.15 seconds, so a tenth and a half. As McConnell has actually gone to pit road. Well, I did wonder, is anyone going to try an undercut, see if anything works? Well, it looks like David McConnell is going to be the one to try out that strategy. Already one lap down, but might as well try something at this point. And to be fair, I don't really blame him. It could also be playing pit stops. It could be early yet, but we will wait and see how things fare, especially for the rest of the field. It is a 15.6 second pit stop for David McConnell. And it looks like Jonathan Bird as well has just recently been lapped. That is the 8 of Brian McCann, who has just caught to the back bumper. So where is Doug Pierce in all of this compared to the leader of Sarton? There's the difference by about a corner. Ten laps to go in this stage. And really, the points that we're only going to be realistically counting are pretty much whoever's not locked into the playoffs at this point. So, pretty much 7 drivers in the top 10. Also double check and see why Tony Brent has suspiciously way more points than he should. So Thorpe has started to fall back a little bit, but he has matched the lap time of Brian McCann within 5 thousandths of a second. Or 5 1,000ths of a second if you want to be proper. Basically, 0.005 seconds is the advantage for Michael Thorpe. So he is still on pace with Brian McCann. Again, the previous winners both being Zachary Hall and Ken Campbell in Season 4 and Season 6. All these drivers looking to add their name to the list of the winners at Darlington here in the Full Sim Racing Association. More specifically, Season 7. Let's take a look back through the rest of the field while we still have a chance. Here is pretty much everybody else, a whole host of positions up for grabs here, and a whole host of points. Unless you're Zachary Lovelace, which in that case, well, you're locked in. You don't have much to worry about. This group of cars are going to be the ones that we are focusing on for the most part, being led by, well, arguably, Chris Chavez. So he's going to be the one leading this field, this little group, more accurately, off turn number 2, ahead of Travis Dart, who is ahead of Corey Mower, and Phil Chavez and Zachary Lovelace sitting 7th and 8th. See the 6 of Jonathan Burt, he is 1 lap down. He did not pit, but no doubt from the, if you can catch that, that is a very bent, well, now an even more bent right front. Well outside the outside wall. Again, this track is brutal. Well against the outside wall, and well, if there wasn't damage before, oh, there is definitely steering damage now. In fact, Corey Moore and Zachary Lovelace are going to pit with 5 laps to the stage. Same goes for Chris Chavez Essery and Travis Dart. Multiple drivers entering pit road. Lovelace nearly unintentionally squeezed into the pit barrels by Corey Moore on pit entry. Cameron Sarton's also coming to pit road. So just 5 laps before the completion of the stage. And we have some very tense stops going on. Close on the limit. Keep an eye on the 33 in the 1 position. With the 33 in the position of the number 1. Because things might shake out entirely differently, especially if they have speeding penalties. So Sarton is in. Pretty much, okay, so first out now is Brian McCann. Chavez and Dart come out pretty much together. They're going to be side by side racing on the apron. I never thought I'd be seeing this, but I mean, there's nothing saying you can't do that. So these two are going to be swapping positions here. Dart makes his way past Chris Chavez. Does Thorpe go the pit road yet? He does not. Your top 4 have not pit yet. Pretty much everyone else except for Jonathan Burt has pit. Hunter Karsten, the most recent to go the pit road. I'm actually quite surprised, but also not surprised that all of these drivers have opted for 4 tires and fuel, rather than just fuel only to get to the end of the stage. Does Thorpe have the legs in the car to get these extra points? 3 laps, I believe, until the completion of the stage. Definitely not 2 to go just yet. There's the completion of lap 50 is what we're looking for here. And this pit strategy more than likely will play out in the favor of Michael Thorpe. Can he save enough is the question. Same goes for Ryan Lynch, William Duff, and Tony Brent. You see who is a lap down, well, pretty much from 5th on back. Where is Sarton in relation to Thorpe? Entering turns 3 and 4, I believe. Final lap in the stage. Mower and Burt swapping positions. I believe Burt might have, yes, collected the outside wall, unfortunately, again, out of turn number 2. Very rapid-fire pit strategy, but we can no doubt lock in Michael Thorpe Jr. as the stage winner at this point. Oh, in fact, wait a minute. Oh, maybe not. I shouldn't have said anything. He's going to go into pit road. Where does Ryan Lynch go? Or is Thorpe able to cross the start-finish line in time? Lynch stays out. Where does Thorpe cross? It's going to be a drag race. Ryan Lynch barely gets the position. Third. He is third across the line. So it's Lynch, Duff, Thorpe, and Brent. Wow. He almost made it. Didn't exactly have the chance. Now we have to see who else is going to make it. Sarton and McCann will cross 5th and 6th. Travis Starr is going to be racing. Chris Travis Essery. All these will be for position. We'll see. So Dart, Essery, Mower, Lovelace. Wow. Now that is some tight pit strategy. Luckily for Thorpe, he did get that 3rd place. So I'd say that's better than nothing. Somehow, William Duff has gotten by Ryan Lynch. I could have sworn Lynch was ahead before. I wonder if he had issues missing pit entry. Speaking of pit entry, here comes William Duff and Ryan Lynch after leading a couple laps respectively. I think the 3 had just snapped loose a little bit there. But regardless, the net leader is now going to be Cameron Sarton. Net P2, Brian McCann. Net P3 might be Travis Dart and Essery. We'll see how things fare here. So it worked in terms of getting the most amount of points for Michael Thorpe to a certain extent. And those extra points will come in handy. There's William Duff and Ryan Lynch. They're both still sitting in pit road. There go Dart and Essery. Thorpe cycles through to 5th. Now that is some pit strategy. I'll get the points updated here momentarily as well, especially to not account for Tony Brent having 2,000 points for some reason or another. Side by side, a little bit of a bobble, but they still continue on. And crucially for Essery, he does not hit the outside wall. So coming into this race, in fact, keeping stage points in mind, we don't have the graphic up yet, but the points have been automatically calculated, and it should, hypothetically, be Tony Brent with 262 points as of now, not taking live points into account, so not taking the current running positions into account. And Travis Dart has 240 points. Michael Thorpe has 235, 232 for Chris Chavez. That's only taking stage points into account, not real-time positions, and that is definitely going to matter, especially when you have the 34 barreling down behind you, especially exiting turn 4, trying to look to get that high side. Travis Dart, unsurprisingly, says, you know what, you can have the position, and backs out as Chris Chavez looks on. Well, while we have a chance, we're going to go ahead and ride on board with the driver for a lap, and that is going to be... Oh, you know what, it might be Brian McCann, because he is chasing down Cameron Sarton, but Tony Brent on fresher tires. But where is Tony Brent in terms of position? He is first, 1 lap down. He is currently 11th. So let's ride on board the most consistent driver so far this season, arguably, for about a lap once we come to the start-finish line. Granted, he's not running for position, but at this point, he definitely knows how to definitely put on some consistency. So let's ride on board the number 28 machine. unsurprising as we ride on board, Tony Brent is desperate to get back onto the lead lap, considering he is the first car one lap down. As we ride on board for this entire lap, or a couple laps rather, watching Cameron Sarton and Brian McCann slice their way through the lap cars. Zachary Lovelace is about to make his way by the 84 of Corey Moore. As unless the 84 has something to say about it in terms of pure pace. And, well, in terms of pure pace, Lovelace is faster by 0.08 seconds, so 0.08 of a second. Chris Chavez is also faster than Travis Start, enough to be about 2.5 car lengths behind. And especially considering that Travis Start just slid on the outside lane. Got two separate battles now for 4th and 5th, and then 6th and 7th here. Believe it or not, we're not even halfway through this race yet. We're getting there. In fact, we might be there in just about 2 or so laps. Ryan Lynch has caught his way up to Tony Brent. Especially if the caution were to come out. This is going to be prime position for the 3 of Ryan Lynch. Tony Brent struggling a little bit this week, and no doubt it's because that this is Darlington, but that catches everybody off guard. Into the outside wall again. And let's see if these are accurate this time. Well, almost. Oh, contact is made between the 3 and the 28. Luckily, not enough to throw a yellow, but contact still made regardless, and Lynch is going to be chasing down that 28 machine if he doesn't have steering damage. Let's ride on board. In fact, let's look from up above here. As we had seen it live, let's take a look at it from a topside angle. And just one of those things that happens at Darlington, where Lynch got on the apron. Tony Brent still went high, but couldn't really do much else. Let's ride on board the 28, looking at this into turns 1 and 2. Dare I say, not much different could be done there. Kevin McConnell has pulled it behind the virtual wall and has opted to retire from this race. He's been in pit road for the past 6 minutes, attempting to repair his car, but has decided against it. This time by, though, we are halfway, crossing over into lap 70. This race is, surprisingly, still has more left in the tank. 2 separate battles, still 4th and 5th between Dart and Esri, and then 6th and 7th between Lovelace and Mower. And I feel like this is one of those tracks where you race the track more than you race the cars in front of you. Esri, though, would probably rather be racing the track rather than the car in front of him, because if he wasn't racing the car in front of him, then he wouldn't be 5th, he would be 4th. Still a long ways to go. And in fact, that long way to go might be the shorter way to go, which is the inside lane for Chavez. Look at the run on the inside, nearly doors Chavez Start as they drag race down into turn number 3. Esri opts to leave the door open on the outside. and very quickly moves himself up into the 4th place position. Must have heard what I was saying, apparently. And just like that, a beautiful move off turn number 2. A great drive. Great use of the momentum, but Dart, no doubt, not done just yet. Take a look at our live championship, and more for me rather than anything else. Trying to figure out why our spreadsheet has decided to explode and display completely different points. Oh, wait, that's Travis that says he has 2,000 points. I wonder why. Brian McCann should have 4,000 points as he has 4 wins, so we'll see how things fare, and I'll take a look at that. In the meantime, how did Travis Dart suddenly get 2,000 points is what I'm wondering. Strange. Regardless, Travis Dart is going to be chasing down, no matter what amount of points, he is still going to be chasing down the 15 of FSRA. Normally this is probably where I would start going through the field, but we have a battle on our hands. Outside wall still not being too kind to the right hand side of that number 26. Corey Mower still managed to hold off Lovelace for the 6th place position. Both the 15 and 26 making their way by the 22 of David McConnell. And throughout all of this, the appropriately numbered number 1 still continues to lead here around Darlington. Of course, right as we cut away, guess what happens? Corey Mower gets passed by Lovelace, and I suspect that the exit of turn 4 had something to do with that. I'll go ahead and take a look here on a replay. Let's see, does he tag the inside or does he get loose? Now just a slow exit off turn 4. Lovelace recognized it, dived down to the inside, and just squeezes by the 84. What a pass. Well, Travis Dart might squeeze his way by the 15 here in a couple laps, depending on how things go with their corner entries. I saw the 26, I think, sliding just for a quick moment as we jumped on board. You can see the constant backfire. That's how off the throttle that these drivers are, as opposed to on throttle, which you can find the link below, as they are affiliated with FSRA, the Full Sun Racing Association. Here, Full Sun Racing Series, one of the affiliate sponsors, as well as Butt Kicker and Team Watson Racing Setups. Of course, they sponsor the league and help run, and help provide, rather, everything that is run here. Having to back way out of the gas was Essery, trying to best himself of the 26. Meanwhile, William Duff is hard charging Potentially about to pass Hunter Karsten here, heading into turn number 3. Not the most advised place to pass, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. It is most definitely possible, and the 17 of Duff is showing why it's possible. Great job to move up into 8th place. Slides up the racetrack, takes the lane away from Hunter Karsten, as well as running effectively the preferred lane here at Darlington around the outside in turns 1 and 2. Clean pass, all the space left between both drivers. Karsten, however, thinks otherwise. He says, well, look, you can have the position for a lap, but I don't think so. But Duff is doing the opposite and driving away from 13 of Karsten. While we have a chance, we're going to go ahead and step side by side. Not only will you see the affiliate sponsors in the side-by-side, you'll also see a couple videos posted by iRacing recently about the upcoming build, which is, let me double-check, tomorrow. As both the 50 and the 26 just run into the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. Well, you definitely won't be missing this battle, and you won't be missing where your favorite driver is, both with the live timing link, as well as seeing the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. During this side-by-side, we will stick with the closest possible battle and bring you everything that we can while we are side-by-side. So don't tune out, because you will not miss a single thing here on the Racing Line Network.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Well, pit stops are underway here at Darlington. Welcome to the On the Throttle 185 here at Darlington. Currently lap number 92 of 136, the Full Send Racing Series, and the Full Send Racing Association here with Season 7 of the league, more accurately. Tony Brent currently sits in pit road. There's William Duff, who currently leads, but only because he is not he's not yet gone to pit road. Michael Thorpe Jr. has just gotten around Ryan Lynch, and all of this has happened in a very quick succession. Thorpe making his way back up through into what is net P3. Duff has not yet pit. In fact, David McConnell has incurred damage as well, to the point where he has also decided to retire the car, making two drivers that are officially out of this event, despite the fact it says he's in pit road, but no doubt that will update in due time. So technically your net leader is this driver, number 1 of Cameron Sarton, looking to get, let me double check here, I believe it will be, in terms of Cameron Sarton, looking to get his second win of the season. Let's see Philip Chavez running down to the inside lane. Not sure if he just exited pit road or if he's having more issues, but he's running on the very inside lane. Nope, he is exiting pit road. That would make a lot more sense. Very tentative. In fact, no, he is just permanently running on the inside. Does he have steering damage? That might be the case. Let's check on board. Oh, no. Oh. Well, I'm sure somebody was bound to do it at some point. I think the answer is yes. He might have steering damage. Emphasis on might. Regardless, Cameron Sarton still net P1. This driver is actually in first place. That's a 17 of Duff. Sarton. Strange. Sarton is net P1. Net P2 is Brian McKay, and he's looking to get his 5th win of the season. The other driver to win this season as well is the 33 of Zachary Lovelace, but also only 1 win. That was at the Red Bull Ring. I still have 1 more road course to go in a few weeks' time as well, which is going to be Sonoma. While we have the chance, this will also take into account the not real time, but also take into account the stage points. Let's cut back to a wide shot real quick and show you the current championship standings. I say that, and I don't think those have updated, which is very annoying. But these are the real point standings. Not sure why the other ones have not updated, but these are the current ones as things stand. Tony Brent should be having extra points taken into account. I'm not sure why they aren't. So that's fun. That's wonderful. We'll take a look at everything after this race, but coming into this race, more accurately, Philip Chavez and Larry Griffin 9 points apart, and they are still, I believe, 9 points apart. In the meantime, that is how things stood coming into this event. As things stand now, well, I'll just have to verbally read it out as we check on Travis Start and his status on how close he is to the 15 of Chris Travis Essery. In terms of a verbal point standings update, still 9 points between Philip Chavez. Well, that doesn't take in real-time positions. So, as of the stage, we'll go with this. Tony Brent, 262 points. Travis Start, 240. Michael Thorpe Jr., 235. Chris Chavez, 232. Hunter Carson, 221. Ryan Lynch, 199. William Duff, 193. Jonathan Burt, 191. And then Chavez at 170, Griffin at 161. And then Claude Telemacki have not ran this race. Corey Muller has, however. I believe he's gotten a couple stage points. More accurately, he's gotten 2 stage points. So he's at 143 points. Post-race, we'll give you the updated point standings, provided they decide to cooperate. Here's hoping, fingers crossed. In the meantime, a driver that does not want to cooperate is Chavez. Of course, he does not want to cooperate in terms of losing that fourth place position, and I don't blame him. The wall out of turn 4 seems to agree, because I saw Travis Dart just barely tap the wall there. He is trying his hardest, no doubt, though, to get by the 15, running around the outside lane. You know, just a few laps ago, I say a few, I use that term loosely, but 20 some odd laps ago, these drivers were quite literally running into the outside wall together in turns 1 and 2. I see the 28 of Tony Brent. He is not on the lead lap. He has, quite unfortunately, 11 laps down. This track ruining his consistency streak. But through all this, I believe Tony Brent might still somehow figure out a way to be leading the standings. I'm going to test something out here impromptu real quick. And it might not be the best idea, but it will be an idea. So let's bring up the live point standings real quick. Of course, that is not necessarily the most correct, but I do want you to try something here. And I think I found what the exact issue is. It just doesn't want to work. That's what the issue is. Not sure why it's not reading everything properly, but we'll get that sorted for the next event regardless. I'll give you the proper point standings once the race comes to its conclusion. Especially considering that some of these positions, of course, are not final. There's not only the risk of the caution, there's also a few positions at stake, as we have seen Travis Starr and Chris Essery both demonstrate incredibly well. Some of the keen-eyed viewers may have also noticed the gap go from 3/10 now to 4/10 between Brian McCann and Cameron Sarton, and right when I say that, goes back down to 3/10. It is fluctuating, to say the least. Nothing has separated them so far, but let's keep an eye on this battle, this being the closest on track between Essery and Dart. One driver, a privateer, not being on the team, that is Essery. The other driver being Travis Dart, part of Ricky Bobby Motorsports. Same with his teammate of Philip Chavez, as well as Doug Pierce. Pierce still running, albeit 15 laps down, but that doesn't mean you can't get points anyway. Some points are better than no points. Oh, into the outside wall is Chris Chavez, and Dart had backed out. Nearly slowed down enough to the point that the 28 Tony Brent had to make evasive action as well. And throughout all of that, Ryan Lynch has gotten passed by William Duff. We have to take a look at this in very quick succession. So let's run this back and see what exactly had happened here. We're going to be about a lap ahead. Not farther back than we need to be, but still something to keep in mind. I think the 15 just lost traction. Let's ride on board, and maybe not. We'll see how things go. So it is this lap that we had the surprise elements. I believe 2 drivers running into the outside wall. So let's see here. What happens to Chavez? Does he get tapped by the 26? Barely. That's why Travis slowed up as much as he did. Meanwhile, Ryan Lynch may have just... did he collide with the wall off turn 4? No, just running low and slow to stay out of everyone's way. So that's what happened. Just a little bit of contact between Dart and Chavez. I was wondering why Dart had slowed up as much as he did. That explains everything. The gap has grown between Sarton and McCann. Again, this battle between the 15 and 26 still remains the closest battle on the track. Doing nothing else except for just riding along, just watching this occur, letting the sound of the engines do the talking. Though I might have to jump in at some point because Dart is catching, and he has caught up to the back bumper there on the entry of turn number 3. Looks to the inside. Nothing off turn 4 yet. Maybe a slight twitch from the 15 off of turn 2 or turn 4, but otherwise everything seems to be running relatively smoothly for both drivers. Let's see, has that cooperated yet? Nope, it has not. Less points are being stubborn today. But in some cases it should be accurate, such as between Lynch and Pfluger, which that gap is an 8-point gap, and we'll see how things fare by the end of this event, especially considering the outside wall as other ideas in mind, and just ask Travis Dart, and especially with turns 1 and 2. Just hearing that throttle control on board the 15 is fascinating, especially through turns 3 and 4 there, where you heard them get in the throttle, out of the throttle, in the throttle, out of the throttle, and then back in the throttle. I know that all these drivers have to be off the throttle and on the throttle as much as they can be. After all, this is the on the throttle 185, and Chavez may have been on the throttle a little bit too much, down to the inside. No fall back as to the outside goes Travis Dart. He moves up to 5th. And turn 4 has struck with the 15. I think right here we are witnessing the point of the the very legendary cliff, as they call it, for tire degradation, where once you hit a certain point in your lap's run, which in that case is about 30 for Chris Chavez, once you hit that point, your tires just explode. Not literally, but in terms of lap times, they don't quite literally explode. If that was the case, that'd be actually even more terrifying and slightly concerning, if you ask me. But in terms of lap times, well, you start to fall off a huge amount, a lot more than expected. To be fair, it might have been just the contact with the outside wall as well, although the slight angle in turns 1 and 2 there, or at least onto the entry of turn number 1, might say otherwise. He's definitely trying his best to hold on to it, and I don't blame him. 0.2 of a second was the difference between these drivers' lap times, between Chris FSRA as well as Travis Dart. I'll see what it is at the start-finish line this time by. Here comes the 26 of Dart. Well, the fact that they set virtually matching lap times has completely ruined my entire point of the tire cliff, tire degradation. So ignore what I said about 2 laps ago and just watch the cars go around in circles, I guess. Because the lap times of these two was a 32.415 for Travis Dart, a 32.403 for Chris Travis Esri last time by. This time by, it's going to be different and a little bit slower because Tony Brent says, all right, just let me through. And yeah, 33, 1 second difference basically between Dart and Esri. I think, as unfortunate as it is to say, I think that battle is pretty much all said and done. And same for battles being all said and done. We might have a second winner for this season, a second multi-time winner this season. However, there are still 13 laps to go, 12 and a half, as we round into turns 1 and 2. Sarton makes his way around. And no doubt has bested Brian McCann so far this race, but a lot can still happen in these last 12 laps, so don't start singing praises just yet. Because a lot can still happen in the time span between the end of, well, between now and the checkered flag. Well, since he is leading, let's ride on board for, well, maybe not. Hold on a second. Let's take a look at William Duff and Hunter Karsten. These two battling for the, effectively, well, it's only for 1 extra point, and still only, quote-unquote, for 8th place. This is still, if a caution does come out, this is still in line for a free pass. So there's still a lot to play for here in case anything does happen. 17 of William Duff looks to the inside. The bobble of Hunter Karsten keeps him up top. The loss of traction for William Duff keeps him on the inside lane. They'll go side by side. Very inside, just dipping below the dotted white line, nearly making contact and using all the space available, just squeezing and closing the door on Hunter Karsten is William Duff. Move that 17 back up into 8th place. And Duff has been doing relatively fantastic this race, just very quietly sitting in the bottom portion of the top 10. And in fact, that reminds me of something that we have not yet done this race. We haven't gone through who is where. Hypothetically, there's been so much happening. We haven't really had the chance to do so. Cameron Sarton starts second, currently runs in 1st place. Not much to say aside from a pretty dominant day so far. Brian McCann, wish he could say the same, no doubt, started 3rd, currently in 2nd. Michael Thorpe Jr. follows through with the 3rd place position. Throwback scheme, bringing him a lot of luck. It will get him a 3rd place finish this week if things stay the way they are. Good finish for Guardian Autosport as well. Same goes for Travis Dart of Ricky Bobby Motorsports. Started 4th, still in 4th. I'd say it's a pretty successful day, all things considered. Chris Chavez Essery, on paper, he could have gotten a 4th place position, and things could be, well, at least in terms of visually, things could be going better. Still not awful. He starts 6th. He's currently in 5th. Zachary Lovelace, part of Texas Speed. Best performance of the team this week, especially with the 10th to 6th place move up 4 positions is the number 33 Corey Mower. Started 5th, currently sits 7th. On paper, maybe not the best, but that consistency is what gets rewarded in time for the playoffs once we get to Talladega. 8th place is currently William Duff, who we just saw pass Hunter Carson. Duff started 14th. I believe might be the biggest mover of this race, and in fact, yeah, with 6 positions he is. So great performance by the 17 so far. Hunter Carson, again, consistently been in the top 10 for a good majority of the season, say for maybe 1 or 2 races. Started 8th, currently 9th, but still providing very, very valuable performance for his team. Tony Brent, G4 Sim Sports, not the best luck, I would say. He started 7th, currently fell back into 10th place, and things could be better, all things considered, but it is Darlington, so not necessarily blame him or anybody who's run into some issues, especially at this track. 11th place is Ryan Lynch, part of On the Throttle Racing. Quiet day, been up there in the top 5. Could have a arguably less bent up car, but well, when you come to Darlington, you might want to pack a spare entire car more than anything else. Jonathan Burt, part of Texas Speed, maybe struggling, to say the least. Started 11th, currently sits in 12th place. Could be doing better, but still toughing it out. 7 laps down, and I'm blaming for toughing it out. Again, some points are better than no points. Drivers that are out of technicality out of this race. Philip Chavez sitting in pit road. Started 9th, currently sits 13th. Has been sitting in pit road for the past 6.5 minutes. David McConnell has gotten back out onto the track after sitting in his pit box for 18, almost 19 minutes. Doug Pierce sits in the pit box in 15th. And one driver who is no longer on track is Daniel McConnell, who is out of this race, has taken it behind the wall. So not the best luck, but not the worst luck either. Still a long way to go with this season, and not a long way to go for Cameron Sarton with 1.5 laps to go. Almost 1 lap to go for the number 1 machine. Quick swap of positions for David McConnell and Philip Chavez. As Chavez sits in pit road, McConnell gets the extra point for going around both 37 laps down. And it's the white flag lap for Cameron Sarton. Another caution-free race. And it's at Darlington of all tracks. I absolutely cannot believe that. And for the first time this season, we're also going to have a second winner, our second multi-time winner, and that's going to be in the form of the number 1 of Cameron Sarton, who will no doubt be taking the fight to Brian McCann when we get to the playoffs. Add the number 1 to the multi-time winners list. Second place is Brian McCann, and coming across in the 3rd place position, a very well-deserved 3rd place, is Michael Thorpe Jr. After all is said and done, a great finish regardless for that number 34 machine, and that will definitely help him going into the next couple weeks. And doing a very early burnout is going to be Cameron Sarton. Please do not hit the tire barriers or the pit barrels at the pit entry. I think enough people have done that already. Again, a very, very well-deserved win for Cameron Sarton as he'll burn it down here on the front stretch. And immediately hits the wall. But you know what? He doesn't need the car anymore. doing nothing but bouncing off the rev limiter, and very rightly so. Another win for the number one machine. Once again, I'd say a very well-deserved win for that number one machine. Cameron Sarton, Brian McCann, and Michael Thorpe Jr. round out your top three. We'll get interviews with them when, momentarily actually. Travis Start finishes in fourth place. In fact, we'll also double check everything for the point standings as well. As Chris Chavez rounds out the top five, he finishes, well, in fifth. Zachary Lovelace, the winner of the Red Bull Ring. Keep an eye out for him at Sonoma. We'll see how things go. He finishes in sixth place. Corey Mower dropped a couple positions, as I said earlier, but still managed a top 10 finish. And I'd say a top 10 finish is better than no finish. Same goes for Hunter Carson and Tony Brent. Both of those drivers very rightfully finishing in the top 10, toughing it out and not letting the Lady in Black get the best of their vehicles. However, the same cannot be said for some of these other drivers. Ryan Lynch managed to survive the Lady in Black, of course, finishing in the 11th place position, albeit 3 laps down. Jonathan Burt also had some struggles with this, and the last, I would say, the main finishers, David McConnell did come back out on track, and just with 2 laps to spare, has finished ahead of Philip Chavez. Again, that 1 point will probably end up mattering here going into these next few weeks. We'll see how things fare. Doug Pierce finished in 15th. Daniel McConnell not able to finish, and Larry Griffin did not start this event for one reason or another. But that is your, those are your finishing results of this event. And very shortly, we'll be going into your interviews with these drivers. But in the meantime, before we do so, we're going to go ahead and, well, I was going to say show the schedule. Probably not. But next week is Charlotte. We'll get more information on that here momentarily. First, let's go ahead and rewind the clock back a little bit to showcase some of these drivers on the racetrack, and not only do that, but also show a thing or two and give these drivers the interviews that they rightfully deserve. And we're going to be starting off with the number 34 of Michael Thorpe Jr., a third place finish, qualified on the pole, but even still, the challenging circuit, once he got passed by, I believe it was Cameron Sargent at the time, and then Brian McCann, once that had happened, you ended up, not by your own doing, faltering a little bit. The track, of course, presenting its challenges, but you still managed to come home with a third place finish.
Yeah, this is actually one of my best tracks, but I just don't know what else I gotta do to get beat those two. Cam and Brian are always fast week in and week out. It's just definitely tired of getting my DNS and myself and finishing top fives. I've had 2 races that I could have won and slipped away from me, including this one. So just trying to keep my head up in it and just keep up the good pace.
And that good pace, of course, did pay off for this event, especially as challenging as Darlington was. We, I think, nearly once had a caution, but otherwise it's been a surprisingly caution-free race. So a shock, again, I would say, at least in terms of the track that we're at. But a throwback paint scheme as well for you. Go ahead and talk us through that going into this event, especially with the TWRS on the car.
Oh, yeah. Well, when it comes to Darlington, I always run this throwback paint scheme. It's to Wendell Scott, if everybody knows him. But I also run his number for that reason. So, big inspiration besides Bubba Wallace. So, yeah, I always take pride in running the paint scheme when I run here at Darlington.
And that pride did do you well. So heading into Charlotte next week, luckily, I would say the oval rather than the road course. What are your thoughts as we move on from the third place finish this week into arguably, probably one of the most popular tracks on the NASCAR circuit?
Charlotte's one of my best tracks as well. Just gotta find a groove and stick to it, and hopefully when things change around, they change around for the better.
Before we go ahead and let you go celebrate your third place finish, go ahead and shout out who gets it done for you in that number 34.
Thank you, Team Watson, for all the racing setups they do for all of us. And thanks my old man for watching, as always, and the rest of my family. And man, I hope to keep this going.
Hopefully we do end up talking to you next week. Congratulations on your third place finish for this week.
Thank you.
That is third place finisher Michael Thorpe Jr. Second place finisher, shockingly, I would say, all things considered, second place finisher, that being the number 8 of Brian McCann, who I guess had an extended throwback paint scheme for this week as well, not only starting at Iowa, but worked out in his favor. Not able to chase down Cameron Sarton fully. You had the momentum until you're about 3/10 back, and then it seems like your tires may have just said, you know what, no, and had decided to take an early off day.
Yeah, Cam had the track figured out, and I could hang with him for quite a while. And I never got to test out the clean air, so I'm not really sure what the difference there was. But I bet there was a little difference. That dirty air was a little tough, but either way, Cam had the track figured out, so I don't think I was going to be able to run him down much. Tried to pull some pit strategies, but everybody just followed me in, so it didn't really shake things up there. And then at the end, of course, we're open for a caution, but it didn't come. But overall, it was a fun race.
And definitely a fun race. And like you mentioned, hoping for a caution, I would again say shockingly, no caution, especially at Darlington of all tracks, where at least, I would say at least, maybe one caution is potentially guaranteed, but considering how treacherous the outside walls are, but even then, this race had proved otherwise. So I think this is maybe, I'm going to have to start keeping track at this point. I think this is the 5th or 6th caution-free race of the season, on an oval specifically.
Yeah, we got spread out and we just kind of get in our groove. So, yeah, no, it makes it interesting because you don't ever really know what's going to happen. You know, some races you'll get back-to-back cautions breed cautions kind of deal, but then you'll get these long green ones. So it really plays with the strategy.
And going into next week, that being Charlotte, probably the most popular circuit on the NASCAR schedule. Luckily, not the Roval, I would say, in some cases, especially with the new layout coming in eventually at some point, I guess, to iRacing it. But even just the concept of the Roval, luckily, is being avoided. So with the Oval next week, what is in store for the number 8?
Charlotte, I like Charlotte. I know Cam is really good there. I think I remember a race before between us. So I would go for the Roval if we want to change things up, but no, I'm looking forward to next week.
I don't know if Travis would be. I don't know if many people would be too happy with the last minute schedule change. But then again, it would be fun and it'd be kind of hilarious. Although a fun concept is just to. This is going to be a slightly niche reference depending on the knowledge of NASCAR for some people. But instead of Tony Stewart's splitting half the field and running half backwards and half forwards, let's split the field and run half on the Roval and half on the Oval and just have that alternate every other lap and see how that goes.
Oh, that would be interesting. I would definitely do that.
If anyone knows the Monza Grand Prix circuit and Oval combination, kind of like that, just less banking and a lot less of a aggressive oval. But we're going to go ahead and actually, before I go ahead and let you go ahead and, as per usual, shout out who gets it done for you with that number 8 machine.
Yeah, shout out to my family, you for doing the broadcast, the league admins for putting this show on, our sponsors for helping out every week, Jones Paints and Designs for my paint scheme, Repeat 1975 spotter, and everybody hanging out with me in the chat. Derek, thank you.
And thank you, as always. We hope to talk to you again next week in Charlotte.
Later.
And that is the ever so casual Brian McCann, driver of the number 8 machine. Again, the 34 was Michael Thorpe Jr., a very well-deserved third place finish for Guardian Autosport. And now we move on to the first place finisher, that being the appropriately number 1, Cameron Sarton. I believe your second win of the season as well. So things are just starting to play in your favor at this point as we move on to the move on towards the, I would say, ever so dreaded Talladega.
Oh yeah, it should be fun. So Darlington's a good track for me. I got a control though kind of early after getting around Thorpe, a slight little nudge out of the way. Um, but it's so hard to pass. So like it's just you gotta kind of do what you gotta do. Um, but I'm sure he's a little mad, but it's okay. He loves me. Um, but we'll go on to Charlotte. I might as well chalk McCann up for the Charlotte win. I haven't standed a chance for Sim there, so hopefully we can compete, but we'll see what happens.
Of course, we will see what happens. I am always very intrigued. I believe I just need to double check for the 20th separate time, just so I'm actually sure. Especially considering I did not properly number some of these, but I believe you are the second multi-time winner this season. So with those 2 wins, plays in your favor.
It does. A good point. So it's going to be a battle all year. So finally, I got more points than McCann for the second race all year. So and probably Thorpe as well. So it was good, and everything went according to plan there. Got a little hairy after the second pit stop. I was a little too cautious going into pit road since I had a bigger lead, and then didn't get through traffic very well. Barely touched the wall, and I was a little tight the last run. So he was like, I knew he was pushing. That was the only way he could probably get around and have a chance was to kind of push and block a little bit, but held him off.
And luckily, that holding off did do you wonders, especially since I think the closest he got was about 0.3 of a second, and then after that, the tires just decided to apparently disagree with him. But regardless, still things playing out well for you. So as we head into, I guess, the rest of the regular season, in this case, you have a very comfortable margin, I would think, at least not including the eventual extra playoff points as to where drivers are in the point standings. I'll definitely get to that eventually in terms of scoring. But right now you have 12 playoff points to his 6, so definitely giving yourself the extra advantage, at least over Lovelace going into the playoffs.
Perfect. No complaints there. So the more the merrier. It gives me a little cushion like it does in the real world. So hopefully we can continue the momentum and garnering up those points.
And before we go ahead and let you go and collect hopefully more wins, but definitely more consistent finishes, go ahead and shout out who gets it done for you with that number 1.
Yeah, shout out to Mom, Dad, Grandma for watching. Traz, putting it on yourself up in the booth for hosting. It's always fun to go back and watch. Usually my mistakes, but this race was nice. So go back and watch a clean race for myself, and we'll see hopefully next week.
Hopefully that will be the case. Congratulations again on your win.
Yeah, thanks, man.
That is Cameron Sarton, race winner for the second time this season. And we are not done just yet. We do have the point standings available for you as we head into the Charlotte race. Hopefully these are accurate and they have actually updated, all things considered. Hey, looks like they have. Awesome. Well, at least one thing is correct at the points, and that's these ones. The post-race championship standings. The 4,000 points. It's unofficially 1,000 points for a win. That is how we are designating the race winners, and those are the points gaps now. A little bit of a larger gap between both Philip Chavez and Larry Griffin, although that gap has only grown by 3 points. And I would think that is because Larry Griffin had originally scheduled to run, didn't run, and those 3 points are in favor of Chavez as he had finished in 14th, although I don't know if Griffin's points had scored at all. I believe they have, but regardless, things still heating up. Corey Mower with his finish ever so slightly, getting closer and closer to that 12th place position, but we still have a few weeks to go, all things considered, and especially we have one race to get to in particular, and that is next week's race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, as we eventually get things moved around here a little bit. Going into Charlotte next week is going to be 100 250 laps at Charlotte. Not under the lights. It will be a day race at Charlotte. That's going to be something that will play into the favor, maybe, of a few drivers. We'll see how things fare, but those tires are definitely going to be eaten alive a little bit more than usual compared to some night racing at Charlotte. That is going to be the For the Troops 255, presented by On the Throttle. It's a nice little string of race sponsorships by On the Throttle. And granted, while I'm not directly affiliated with them, you can find the links below to the league affiliated sponsors. That is both, well, actually not even both, all three of being Butt Kicker, On the Throttle, as well as Team Watson Racing Setups, TWRS. You can find all the links in the description below. And as we sign off here, thanks to the team over ATVO for having some extra things for us to mess around with in case you had any issues. Go ahead and let us know. And while I say that, we'll see how things fare, but things seem to have been stable throughout this event. So looks like another proper way, another fun way of providing extra information for you viewers at home in case you want to, just for fun, listen to this radio style and just watch the position swap in real time, which I would consider that if visualization wasn't the main thing that we have to go for. But we are going to go ahead and sign off here from the Darlington Raceway. Congratulations to Cameron Sarton on the second race win for him this season. We hope to see you next week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.